Let's welcome in Jason Lloyd from sunny Florida. What's up, Jason?
Oh, okay. That backdrop is just a little rubbing it in, Jason. Here's what he said when he was scouting his location. I want palm trees and sun. And give me a cold drink.
Well, it was either this or the workroom, so I figured I'd come out here.
Yeah,
it's a little bit better than the
great
musty
ambiance,
workroom.
man.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. If we can't be there,
it's only 35 here today, or 40, whatever the hell it is.
It's like 60 and 70 this weekend, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out tomorrow, so it's not a very long trip.
What's your big takeaway from the? We got to come up with a name for these news conferences because they don't create news. I don't know. I don't know what we call them.
Infomercials.
It's just a lot of lips are moving, but really no information is coming out. What though was your big takeaway?
Two things actually. One, Andrew Berry really sort of went on at length yesterday, unprovoked.
Wow, he's really thinking about this next line.
Dude, he had me. I was captivated.
I got it. Snooze conference.
Snooze conference.
Snooze conference.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's what he gets for being outside.
Snooze conference.
The bad internet.
We're going to do Andrew Berry after Jason. I'm fascinated to what he...
Pause.
Jason, we lost you real quick, so you got to start over.
All right, you got me now?
Yeah, there you are.
Can you hear me?
What were you fascinated at by what Andrew Berry went on about length for?
He went on about Travis Hunter at length about and he sort of compared him to, he said, this is no disrespect to Charles Woodson and Champ Bailey because those are Hall of Fame players. But, in the whole offense-defense thing, he said that those guys were defensive players who sort of freelanced on offense, and Travis very much is an offensive player. We're right there, look at those numbers. That's an offensive guy. Mm-hmm. And I asked Kevin today if they see him as sort of two players in one. And yeah, Kevin and Andrew both said that he's a guy that they would, if he winds up here, that they would like to take advantage of his abilities on both sides of the ball.
Ooh.
So the trick is obviously, it's easier to make a guy a full-time cornerback and then a gadget play on offense. It's a little bit harder, I think, to work him into the defensive side if you want him as a primarily offensive player. But the Hunter thing was just super interesting to me the last couple of days and how much traction there was. Just how much attention he's sort of gotten.
Okay. Does that lead you to think that that's where they're going it to, or do you think it's all smoke?
Well, I don't know because first of all, nobody has any idea what the hell the Browns are doing. Nobody has any idea. And
the Browns know what they're doing.
Well, part of that could be by design. I think they've done a great job of spinning people, and part of that may be that they truly don't know yet. And the other part of it that sort of the Hunter thing sort of leads to is Kevin sort of, I don't know if he would say slip because he never slips, but he pretty much said that after they meet with Shador, that's the end of their private workouts for quarterbacks. In which case, it's really, if you go off their list of private workouts, it's really a list of four. It's Cam, it's Shador, it's Jackson Dart, and it's Jalen Milroe.
Yeah,
those were the four that they held private workouts with. So you would think that they would spend the most time with the guys that they're most interested in. So we may be able to cut the list at those four names going forward. And obviously some of those you would think would be in play at 2, and some of those names would be in play maybe a little bit lower down, whether it's a trade down or a trade up or whatever it is. Barry said yesterday he didn't think it was likely that the Titans would trade out of 1. And he sort of referenced what we've talked about on the show before, that there's never been a trade between 1 and 2. And it's really unusual for 1 to move at all. Twice in the last 25 years that the number 1 pick has moved. So he seems to think that regardless of what Tennessee is saying, they're going to stay at 1. Obviously, all signs sort of point to them taking Cam at this point. Brian Callahan said today that they're probably 2 weeks away from having a decision on who they're going to take at 1. But I think at this point, it'd be a surprise if it's anybody other than Cam. So then the Browns have the field in front of them, aside from one guy.
Jason, I know they worked out Dart, and Stefanski actually talked about Dart a little bit as well, which he doesn't really tend to do. He doesn't really tend to give many things away. Am I reading too much into that? What do you think?
No, I mean, he said basically the same thing about all the guys. The thing about Jackson is Joe Judge was his coach, and obviously Joe's a former NFL coach. So they think he's had real quality coaching. They pushed back a little bit on the idea of Milroe can't really throw, that he's only a runner only. So, but for the most part, they said all the same things, that they're all great guys. The standard draft speak that you say about all these guys at this point. I just think it's kind of interesting that, if they really do cut that list at those 4 names, then I think that's a little bit of a tell at the 4 that they're spending the most time on and zeroing in on.
Didn't they bring Shuck in for a visit?
They definitely did. He was here for a top 30 visit.
Yeah, so I mean.
All right, well, then that's 5. Then that's 5.
Okay, so.
I had forgotten his name, so you can add him to the list then.
Jace, they haven't said anything. Well, I'll ask you. What do they say about Abdul Carter? And I've always found it interesting. We were talking to Dustin earlier. He said Vikings never talked to him. He said he had a list of teams that he thought were going to draft him, and the Vikings never worked him out, never talked to him, and boom, the Vikings took him. One philosophy here is to say absolutely as little as you can about the guy that you want to take, and I haven't really heard them talk much about him. What are they saying about him?
They love him, obviously. Again, they're saying all the right things. They like the fact that he can move around a little bit. They're not at all concerned about the foot, about the stress reaction on the foot. They don't think that's a big deal at all. Kevin joked today that he and Abdul went to rival high schools, and Kevin said, "You know where I went to school?" And Abdul said, "Yeah, I've heard." He goes, "Is this going to be a problem?" And Abdul said, "No, I think we can get by it." And Kevin's like, "All right, then let's move forward here."
I love that.
Yeah, just a fun little moment. I think Carter is absolutely still in play. They don't seem concerned by the injury thing at all. And I don't know. I think Carter's still an option, but this Hunter thing is just sort of stuck in my head right now.
Okay.
Jason, obviously we've talked a lot about what these guys have said in press conferences, but you do your best work behind the scenes in private conversations. So what are some of the rumblings you've heard behind the scenes at the meeting so far involving the Browns? Anything of note?
Hunter.
Wow.
Hunter's the name that's come up a couple of times. And again, how much of that is accurate and how much of that is smoke?
Yeah.
But see, it's a unique position, I think, being in 2, because everybody knows Cam Ward's going 1. At least, certainly at this point, that's the way it feels. So you don't necessarily have to hide what you're thinking at that spot. I know teams do anyway, because they like to create drama and intrigue. And, maybe if they don't really like a guy, they can say that they do and try and get someone to bite and move up. I get all that. But a little bit of smoke this week has been around how much they like Travis. And, Barry's the one guy who came out at the combine and said they see him as more of a receiver than they do corner. Whereas a lot of other teams in the league sort of view him as a corner, not necessarily a receiver. So, and that was the question that Andrew was asked yesterday, about that statement he made at the combine. And that's when Andrew took a minute or minute and a half or so to sort of explain himself further. And then that's when he said, they draw these comps to guys like Woodson and Champ Bailey, and Travis Hunter is a much more accomplished and polished offensive player than those guys were. Those guys were defensive players who just made a few plays on offense. But if you look at their college numbers, they didn't really make the impact on the offensive side of the ball that Travis Hunter makes. So I do think that is intriguing to think that with the team with this many holes, you can get 2 players in one almost, or fix 2 spots with one. Not that necessarily you want them out there for every snap, but you'd have to be creative in how you scheme them. And that's what I asked Kevin today. I said, do you see him as 2 players in one? And he said, every team in the league is having that conversation right now. And, I don't know if every team is, because there's probably only 3 or 4 that have a chance to get them, but I understand the sentiment of every team you ask may have a different answer of how they'd want to use them. And it really comes down to personal choice and preference and scheme and how you think that player fits.
You should absolutely be thinking that way. No doubt about it. Why not take advantage of it while he can? But Jason, do you see a scenario where they draft him and then maybe trade up from the 2nd round back into the 1st to grab a Jackson Dart or, whatever? Another quarterback? Shuck? Milrow? You see that or no? Well, Jason's frozen.
It was a great time for Jason to freeze because it was in the middle of a question. He looks like he's thinking
and he wasn't
very
blinking,
hard,
which is important.
I mean, listen, I think we've both felt, I know Jay, you feel differently. I've consistently felt they should draft a quarterback at 2. But if they don't feel like, their options are good enough, if the quarterbacks are not good enough, I would absolutely take Travis Hunter.
Well, if there's a team that loves Hunter, this is why I'm not saying that it's smoke for smoke's sake,
Yeah.
but there's a method to a team's madness. And if they wanted to do what you just said, the way you do that is show great interest in Travis Hunter. Because maybe the Giants really want Travis Hunter. Maybe the Patriots, maybe one of these top 6, 8 teams really want Travis Hunter. And I haven't looked at what their draft capital is, but if there's a team who's picking 5 and 25, and I don't know if that's the case, if you're the Browns, you say, we'll drop back to 5, you get our 2, we want your 25. Now you're better positioned to get that quarterback. It doesn't sound like much, 33 to 25, but there is a difference between day 1 and day 2.
No, there totally is. And that's where you can get one of those, maybe a Jackson Dart at 25,
Yep.
a Milroe, someone like that, who you'd certainly probably wouldn't take that guy at number 2. Even though you and I kind of agree that if you love that quarterback, you take him no matter where.
Yeah.
But you still want to be smart and try to collect the assets because no one's going to take probably Jalen Milroe at 2 or Jackson Dart at 2, most likely. So I get it. Unless you love Travis Hunter and you're like, okay, let's just take a great player.
If I'm not sold on the quarterbacks, I'm not trading down. I'm taking Travis Hunter. He is a once-in-a-lifetime player.
Yeah, he's
potentially.
Awesome.
He could be.
How concerned are you about his size?
I am.
He's Denzel Ward size.
Yeah,
that scares the hell out of me.
I'm a little concerned about him. However, guy played 120 snaps a game and really didn't miss any time.
No, that's
so.
Well, he was hurt a little bit. I think he had a shoulder.
Yeah, but
twice.
that was late in the year, and I think they just held him out for precautionary reasons. He didn't miss a lot of time. He played 120 plus snaps a game.
That is impressive. And look, I love the 2-for-1 notion.
Yeah.
How much he's going to do that. We're going to talk later in the show about how difficult that is. There's a reason no one's done it.
By the way, take less hits at receiver than you would take being a corner.
Here's the good news for him. And I was going to save this for our discussion at the end of the show, but I'll just tip my hand. Those are low collision positions. It's not like he's playing offensive line and defensive line. Hell, it would kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting pounded on every single play. You can play wide receiver and get hit 3 times in a game.
You can limit the amount of times you get hit as an offensive player. As
Absolutely,
opposed to a defender,
you can. If the ball doesn't come your way, you're blocking. How hard are you blocking?
You have no idea if you're a corner and all of a sudden you're playing cover 2 and you're covering the flat and you're heavy in run support and all of a sudden you got, you name it. Kyle Juszczyk coming out in the flat, and you got to go take that guy down. You can't, you don't have an option there. You would be exposed as opposed to a receiver. You get the ball and you could run out of bounds. You can go immediately down. The rules favor the offense.
Absolutely.
They're not going to be able to really get those big time licks on you. The concussions are way down with receivers too. So that's something to keep in mind for sure.
I just feel like the guy is a unique player. Why take that away from him? If he wants to do it. If that means his career ends up being 7 years instead of 11 years, if that's a trade-off he's willing to make, I'm not going to worry about it as a team.
7 years I'd take.
Yeah.
It's the 2 that scares me. It's the JOKs out there that.
I mean,
and
but
obviously that's a high-impact position.
Right.
And he's hitting bigger bodies. But
I just think I'd play him 75% of the offensive plays and 30% of the defensive plays.
That's a lot, man.
It is a lot.
That's a lot.
And by the way, maybe you just play him in certain big moments, like big third downs, or pass,
defense?
Or a nickel package.
Passing situations, you'd have him on the field because you know he can take away one receiver, or half the field.
Here's
or however
something
you want
that
to
you
look
can
at
answer, and I've often wondered this. I've asked this to other guys. So it's one thing to do it in college. If the NFL is 100 in terms of speed, intensity, strength, what is college? How big is that jump? So I know that's kind of a general question, but
I didn't think that they were stronger. I just thought it was faster. Everything's faster.
Right. So if the speed of the game at the NFL level is 100, what is the college speed? And you played at a university that was damn near NFL quality.
Oh yeah, I mean I played on a defense where every single one of us got drafted.
Good.
NFL players, and we played against NFL players every week on other teams in the Big Ten, and in the bowl games, whatever it may be.
So it was a step up. But
but dude, it's a big step up.
Now he's at Colorado too, so he's not seeing that week in, week out Big Ten schedule.
It's a big step up. If you said the NFL's 100, I mean college is 70. Something
why
like that.
why rule out doing it without giving it a chance?
I'm with you, Bull.
Why? Why would you just say no? It's easy to say nobody's ever done it. Well, nobody had ever done it before Ohtani in baseball.
I'd feel differently if he was 6'1", 200. He's Denzel's size, and we know what's happened to Denzel.
Yeah, but Denzel has had number one. He plays defense every snap. He's not going on offensive
and he
side.
gets in there too.
And he plays like he's bigger than he is.
I know.
And by the
he
way,
does.
his
I wish he
injuries
wouldn't.
have
His injuries
mostly been
are
concussions. That has nothing to do with your size.
No, but it has everything to do with your collision. You're making a lot of contact, and Denzel plays like his hair's on fire. Sometimes I wish he wouldn't.
But guys, you have to remember, not every player's brains and situation is going to be the same.
Yeah.
Like
No,
some
I know.
guys become more susceptible to them, and if you have a few of them back to back to back, then all of a sudden those extra ones become worse.
What was your size coming out of school?
What I am now, which
Really?
everyone says I'm so skinny. I'm like, this is what I look like when I came out of college.
So, what are
If
you?
I'm
5'80"?
5'11", 100. I'm like 180 right now. I was like 190.
I mean, that's kind of his size.
yeah,
You're very close to his size, to
Yeah.
Hunter's size.
yeah.
Wow. I
He's
know
a
that's
freak athletic specimen.
Oh,
though,
he
which
is a freak.
you got.
What did he run again?
Benefit of the doubt sometimes. He actually, I don't think he ran, but
Oh.
you see any of the video, any of the film?
He's
offense,
fast. He's,
defense,
fast.
whatever.
He's football fast.
Is he
Yeah,
running a
he's-
4.3?
I don't
Listen,
think he's that fast.
He's
I'm sure he
plenty fast.
yeah,
Plenty
I would
fast.
say he's in a 4.45 range.
Doesn't matter.
No, he's
I mean,
definitely faster.
But he's football fast. When you watch him on a field, he's
These,
running away
these
from
times
guys.
are horse shit, man. I look at how the guy plays on tape.
Yeah.
If you go to the combine and you run 4.4, run 4.5, like anything under 4.6, you're moving.
Yeah.
And if you move it on tape, you're definitely moving.
Yeah.
So if you look fast on tape and you run a 4.7, yeah, you may be like, well, we'll see. But dude,
Yeah.
if you run a 4.4, 4.3, 4, whatever, you're fast.
Doesn't really matter
You're
at that
fast,
point, yeah.
man. You're
Jerry
fast.
Rice was never a blazer,
He was a 4.7 guy.
but he got it done. There's ways to get around all that.